making ornaments on laser cutters. So this is by far my favorite thing to use laser machines for. I did make a video about a year ago showing the process on some of these, but it's been a year, lots of new ideas here. So this video, it's going to be a tutorial with lots of different tips and tricks, exploring material types, sales tips, lots of sales tips if you're looking to justify the purchase of a laser or paying off your laser. Some amazing money making here, but just the customization, so many possibilities. So use the timestamps to skip on around, but lots of different materials, lots of varieties, a lot of tips here. So here you have it, making ornaments on the laser cutter. So first up, let's talk material. So obviously to make the hundreds and hundreds, I probably just finished up about 500 to 600 ornaments. You're gonna go through all kinds of materials. And so I have used probably a couple hundred sheets of all kinds of different materials. I have spent out of my own pocket a ton of money on researching all kinds of different materials. I have received some, in exchange for making content, but I've gone through a lot. And so I want to share some tips on just efficiency, cost savings, and just for a really great look. And so here you can see a wide variety. So I want to jump into some of the material types. So I want to start with obviously every laser you have. No matter what laser you use, it's probably going to be able to cut basswood. And so if you're just getting started, basswood is your friend. You can cut it, and then you can stain it, you can paint it. You can paint it before, you can paint it after. We'll dig into some of those tips with painting and staining later. But basswood is just a great option, and it's really, it'll cut on any machine, right? The 3mm or 1/8 inch, that's great for layers, especially if you're doing layered ornaments. That's a great option. You also have the option right here. I'm a woodworker, right? Wood shop. By the way, if you are new to lasers, you don't need to have a wood shop to run a laser machine. All these lasers you can run in your home, you can run in your office, in a room. You can vent it outside with an inline fan, or you can have this really cool new air purifier. Awesome, great options. But woodworker, I love hardwoods, right? I love all the beautiful woods. So this is Babinga. Gorgeous, some just different, these are real, it's thin veneer and it's plywood, but you get those natural colors, so then you could do a finish kind of like, a traditional woodworking finish. So real wood, this is real wood, authentic stuff. These products are from X-Tool Selected. I'll link them down below. I also do have some other materials from other companies that I've experienced. So there are some pre-finished wood. So this is Sapele mahogany, a wood I love to work with. This is pre-finished. So there's some companies that'll have wood that's already pre-finished. You do pay a premium for them to finish it ahead of time, but then when you cut it, there's not as much cleanup, although I do still recommend to mask, and I'll talk about that, and it'll just save you time from cleaning. But the pre-finished stuff is great. You pay for it, but if you're looking for that product, it's great. My new favorite thing to work with, this is weird for me as a woodworker, it's fake MDF. This right here is fake. This is faux walnut, words are hard sometimes, rosewood. This stuff is gorgeous, it's beautiful, and it's really comparable to this other stuff. And honestly, if I'm gonna make something out of hardwood, like I'm gonna use traditional tools for the most part, and I'll still do hardwood in here, but most people, if you're trying to sell, they don't really know the difference, and to be honest, they don't really care. There is a time and place for the hardwoods, but this is a new product that X-Tool sells. It's that 3mm. This stuff is gorgeous, and this year I did so much, and the results are great. I don't have to mess with staining. It's that wood look. I don't have to mess with finish as long as I mask it. So I'll show this a little bit more later in the video, but this stuff is incredible. Also got some ebony and the maple, the different colors. And then of course, they do have their colors as well, pre-painted stuff. I've definitely done a ton of painting and all that, and that's an option. But if you want to save time, and you just want to be efficient, some pre-painted MDF, big stuff is a great option. Gosh. Polished here. The other thing, obviously, I love a little splash of acrylic, so we'll get into some of these later. This actually has that MDF, that ebony MDF on the top, and then it's got this like kind of glittery acrylic. And so this one right here, it's got a little plastic wrap on it still, but Beautiful stuff. So you can get some really cool glittery items. Just note that if you are going to go with glittery or clear or transparent or some colors, they do not work on a diode machine. I'll talk more about that at the end of the video, some laser considerations. So these, if you're going to go with the glitter ones, you really do need to make sure your machine can cut it. You want a CO2 laser like this P2S over here. This one is great. This is a thin acrylic. It's like 1/25th of an inch. So super thin. This is going to cut. A thicker black will work on diode machines as well. But this is great if you just want a little bit of a pop. I just dumped all this stuff on here, so it's hard to see. If I want the pop of, you know, some black acrylic, a little bit of gloss on top of just some MDF or what, they're going to all go. You get the idea. So some materials to consider. I will link other ideas down below, and you'll see others throughout. But materials. All right. Again, we have those timestamps. If you want to skip around, you can. But there's so much knowledge here, so many tips. And I'm going to give you my best tip right now. Hands down, the best tip. In my other video on making these ornaments, I talked about using double stick tape, right? And so that other video showed other ways with sheets. You can buy these pre-packaged sheets. But if you're going to do volume like this, or you're going to do that many sheets, or like some of my other videos where I do layered sign, you really want to buy the big rolls. The 3M stuff is the best. It just really is the best. I haven't had a better experience with any other product. And so there's some different ones. Let me show you the options right now on which ones you could go for. So first up, this is the one that I used in the other video when I showed the sheets. That's 467 MP. This stuff is great, and it has a really good hold. In my experience, the ornaments held together. They could handle the wear and tear. I did expand to a stronger version. This is 300 LSE. This stuff is so much stickier and tackier, and it is not going to pull apart. This is great if you're making like game inserts and game pieces. Sneak peek over there. Cool stuff. But ornaments, if you just don't want to take the risk. And so what this is, it's obviously double stick. You just lay it down and you put this on your material before you cut it. And then after you cut it, you can just peel off the back. You don't have to mess with glue at all. The other option is got to mask it. So sometimes we'll get away and like we're not going to mask our things. We're not going to put this this medium high-tech masking on, but it's going to save you so much time and cleanup if you just use some masking. So I highly recommend putting this, laying this on top of your product first. If you're like me, you need to see it. Don't worry, I am going to apply this and show you how I actually do it. But just some tips to get started. This is not fancy at all. I do have a little bit more slower kind of talking about how I made these just with a cutter here, just a little bit easier to apply. You can check out this video right here, talk about this rising stand and some, but I slowed down and I talk about this a little bit more. But it's just nice, it makes things a lot easier just to roll it out, slide it, cut it, and then apply it. So real quick, let's apply this stuff and talk about why that's so helpful and useful. So applying it really is that easy. You just kind of roll it out and then lay it down. You do want to use a card spreader to make sure there's no air pockets. That's actually a really important thing. Any air pockets could cause some flame, so you just want to make sure it's nice and even. And then once you apply it, then you cut it, right? So you apply it on, you cut it with it on. You might have to change your settings a bit, just a little bit more powerful, so do some test cuts first. But then you can see here, we just peel off the backer and then you can just layer it up. So easy, so much faster. Another option, if you don't want to do that, is you could use CA glue. So super glue with these little micro tip adapters. And you could do super glue, but it is going to have some squeeze out. So it definitely works, and I definitely use CA glue in a lot of applications. But for ornaments, I do prefer the double stick tape. It saves a ton of time, and it just looks better. As far as the masking, so masking, it's just... It is what it says, right? And what it sounds like. You're just adding this on any side that doesn't have that double stick tape. So here, I'm just doing it on the top because the bottom has the double stick tape on the bottom. But if I'm doing like, you know, the back is going to be seen, I would put it on both sides. Here you can see one of my sons is helping out. It's a great family project. We all like to jump in, do it together, applying and peeling together. But then after you cut it, you can just peel off that masking, and then it just takes away any of that char or residue. Even if you have, you know, your air really high and you got great air assist going, you're still going to get some char. Then you'd have to clean everything up and scrub it. it. And when you have the masking on, it just cleans. It's so much cleaner, right? All that char stays on the paper. You get a better result. It's a little bit more work, but trust me, it is worth it to do the masking as long as you have a good system like a roller of sorts. So highly recommend. All right, now I want to just dig into some different types, the material types and what it actually looks like, so you can see some of the variations as far as glossy, matte, and just how they hold up. So I want to dig into some of the material types, and then we'll just show some quick laser footage of us actually cutting them on the machines. But let's check out those types. So first up, I want to just talk about just solid wood. So here, this is a nice 1/4 inch hardwood. So here we have walnut, we have some cherry, we have maple. This is one where it is 1/4 inch thick. It's not solid wood. This has an MDF filler. If you want to cut solid wood, we'll talk about it in a second. But it's got a veneer, but you can't even really tell there that it's, I mean, you can tell by the black. But using a 1/4 inch plywood or an MDF filler, great results. I do recommend if you're going to do something like this, find one that has an MDF middle. If it's plywood, there's just those layers of glue, and sometimes it just doesn't cut all the way through. So this is a great option. If you want to do that thick stuff, you probably need to have like a 40-watt diode, like the S1 40-watt, or a CO2 machine. Otherwise, you want to do some thinner stuff. It's just going to be harder, and then do layers. So this stuff, awesome. Some quick tips on how to do this and how I pulled these off. I think a great look, and you can pound these out really, really quickly. Quick sales on this one. Stay tuned to the end of the video when I talk about free files and software. I'll actually show how I designed the software for these. But you are going to want to do some sanding. On this, I don't recommend do the masking because it's a wood veneer. You'll just sand off the char. Just be careful to not sand too far and go through the veneer. I got to be careful with the sanding. Then we laid everything out. We did spray, air hose to get rid of any of the sanding residue. And then we just went over it with spray lacquer. I think this is the best finish for ornaments. It does take some time to do it, but some coats, no sanding until the end. You can do a light scuff with actually, a brown paper bag. Another option, if you're doing a ton, is using an HVLP system like this, as opposed to the cans of spray lacquer. Spray lacquer is my favorite finish. This just has lacquer and lacquer thinner in it. Great results. I talk more about this in that hardwood laser video, and you'll see more. Those are always obviously hex tiles for the Catan game coming up. But this is a fun design, right? Lots of hardwood ones. All the PNG files you find got some great possibilities there. All right, back at it. Some of the first ones I did were just 2 layers. This is using some of that hardwood plywood, and just did 2 layers, and you could just kind of glue it together using that double stick tape, so I didn't have to mess around with glue, and then you could do an engraving. There's a lot of files like this. I will talk about files, some free files at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that, where you can just add some engraving, or you can customize that on site. If you're selling at a show, this one I kind of referenced earlier. We got the 2 tones, a little acrylic on the MDF, but the layer ones are so much fun, and that really adds the depth. You can get a cool MDF like this, where it's an MDF with a print on the back. They also have that with acrylic, but MDF will work on most machines. This has that maple, that faux maple MDF from X-Tool on the top. It's kind of a cool look instead of the white. Some other options, right? We can do acrylic and that fake wood. I need to clean up the back. So with acrylic, when you cut acrylic, you do want to mask it. So they come with the paper on the back. I recommend if you're just cutting, leave the paper on the back and cut it and then peel the paper off. It's going to save all these char marks. Otherwise, you want to add some masking. Otherwise, you're going to have to clean that up a bit, and that gets kind of annoying. So like this one here, I left the paper on, and then after I cut it, then I peeled it, no marks on the back, and we're good to go. So this has some MDF on top of some acrylic. So some other options. This is a cool new one with glossy. So we have a mirror effect, a mirror acrylic on the back. Again, the mirrored acrylics, just double check that your machine can cut those before you go and drop the money for those. That's the reason why I love the CO2. The P2S is my favorite because I can cut anything on them. But some other ideas there. All right, some other acrylic options. Don't mind the camera work. You know, acrylic, an acrylic. You could just do a single one. So here is just a single sheet of like a pastel blue, and then it's kind of a cool look, right? So I found this file, kind of just tweaked it a little bit. Some great files on it. Again, I'll talk about files later. But here, this is just acrylic, and then when it engraves, you can get that effect. So I don't even need 2 layers, and I have a great ornament there. You know, here's just some acrylic with some engravings, some ideas. The whole point of this is just to give you some ideas of what you can do with your machine, possibilities of what a laser can do. This is a special acrylic. This is acrylic, but you can buy those. Again, I'll link some of these down below, get the idea. Here I have acrylic, 2 layers of acrylic, and then I engraved on the top. Obviously, you got to be careful with licensing, so you can get away with some things as long as it's not the trademark type thing. Another consideration, let's jump into a quick consideration before talking about some other options. So folks, I know this is a lot more talking than usual, not as much build, but a lot of people, they really do want all these tips. So if you don't want all the blah, 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 skip away. But another consideration that you want to take in for selling. So a sales tip. So I sell these ornaments. I do 1 show a year, 1 craft show, 1 craft fair. If you're not doing a craft fair, start small. Now for me, the holidays are the best time to do it. I got a whole video on craft show tips. You can check out this video for lasers. Got another one on woodworking. But just selling ornaments alone, in 1 day, you could sell $1,000 worth of product in 1 day, at least, if not more. Just depends on some variables. And so I definitely recommend the ornaments. They're great. You can package them together, you know, 3 for whatever, 4 for whatever. Some other considerations we'll get to. But what I want to talk about here, why I stopped here, is if you're going to sell, I do recommend finding a school, like a school craft show, and find out what that school mascot is, because probably the kids who go to that school, their families want an ornament. And I'm a 5th grade teacher. Right? I've been teaching for 19 years, and we've never had ornaments for sale at a school or anything like that. But if you're at a craft show, you can make the John Muir Elementary Mountain Lions mascot, or, you know, Kamaica Middle School, you can make a mascot ornament. That's going to be a great item that's going to be, you know, pulling in. This is a local swim team. I know people coming to the craft show, the Kingsgate Gators, that's an option. So that's a great tip for ideas of what to make, what sells well, is picking, you know, a local thing. Who's going to come to the show? Well, if it's at a school, an elementary school, well, there you go. Some other considerations of what's local to you. We're in Washington, Pacific Northwest. Okay, so you can do, you know, kind of the color scheme. You can't do logos. You can't do that unless you spend the money on the licensing. I don't even know how to do that, but be careful. Don't do intellectual property. There's plenty of ideas out there, and you can be kind of like, you know, on the nose, but not, you know, don't cross the line. So some options. Not as much laser content in this video, but here you can see I was using the P2 and the P2S, and we're using the M1 Ultra and the S1, actually using 4 lasers simultaneously. You can actually run them all with 1 computer. So 1 computer running all at the same time. It's great. I know this is kind of absurd, but I have the different lasers, so I'm using them. So yeah, all of these projects can be done with just about any laser. I'll talk about the laser options later in the video. There are some material considerations. But here I do want to talk a little bit more about painting and staining, and some considerations, and a really cost savings way if you're looking to save money on materials. But here we go. So this sheet of coated hardboard from Home Depot, 14 bucks, and I cut it down on my table saw. Basically, it's like primed MDF. This was a great deal. This cut really, really well. You just need someone to be able to break it down, or at the store, and was able to cut things out. And so basically it acted like MDF. It was a hardboard, and then I could add my paint, get some great results. So all of these pieces were done with that hardboard, a great alternative. Painting, right? I usually recommend paint after the fact. Some people like to paint ahead of time, but then you have to wait for it to dry and mask. Here you can see another sneak peek of that Catan game. If you're using MDF, you want to use filler primer, coats and coats of filler primer. That is the secret for painting painting MDF. You just got to seal off all the pores of the MDF. So filler primer is your friend, sometimes called automotive primer. That is a must for painting. And then you can do your layers of paint, whatever it is. 1 to 2 coats is sufficient. And then you do want to do a top coat after the fact. Save all your cardboard, save your Amazon boxes, use that. That's a great little setup on a day where it's not raining. Seize that moment, get all your colors. Again, sneak peek at that Catan game. If you don't know anything about Catan, stay tuned. It applies to lots of other things. So this is a really, really big project that I've been working on, and I can't wait to share this video coming up. So stay tuned for that. Lots of new tips in that video as well. But the painting still applies. So here I'm just adding some top coats just with a rattle can, but you could also use an HVLP system like I'll show with a hardwood in a second. All right, staining. I like to stain ahead of time. So if I have some basswood, I want to stain the wood ahead of time. I think that's fine. There's not too much char after the fact. You could certainly stain afterwards, but I usually like to stain it ahead of time. That's just me. Just make sure it's fully dry and cured, because most stains are oil-based, and so as long as it's not wet, it's fine. But if you're at all concerned, then stain after the fact, and you're fine. But it's nice to just kind of like knock out a bunch of sheets and just have a bunch of stock on hand that's already in the colors you want. If you're not gonna, if you're gonna do it otherwise, you would sand, cut it, sand it. Don't go through all the veneer to get rid of any burn marks, and then you could stain it. I love this system. I talk about the sander a lot with the foam and all that. It's a great setup. I'll link it down below, but you'll probably see that in other videos. Anyway, some stain here, again on these hex tiles to get the idea of staining. Great results here, but you do have to sand. So it's just, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Any option, but staining is a great, affordable option, and actually it's a really cool look. So some options. Another great one is hardwood, right? And so this is all real wood. Now this is a little bit more, okay, this is a lot more involved. You need to find a woodworker or have the tools to glue up these different species of woods. But in my original video, I kind of talk about how I did this. So you can check out that first video on laser cut ornaments. I also have a new video talking about laser cutting wood and some new tips and tricks on sanding. It really is a game changer. I hate when people say that it's a game changer, but being a woodworker the last 9 years, it's a game changer for sanding intricate pieces like this. So if you want to experiment with hardwoods, check out this video right here. My goodness, my goodness. All right, last but not least, for the types that I'm just going to showcase here are these layered ones. There are so many cool files out there. You can get crazy intricate and like do layers. This is a 4-layer one, and I feel like that's not too thick. You got to consider, if you're doing things for sales, what is going to be most efficient. And so some people make these really intricate ones. There's some new designs going out this year with a huge border and all that. That's so much time, and I just don't think you're going to recoup the cost. And so for me, something like this, I'll sell these for $8, the single one if it's a single. If it's a double, if it's 2 layers, I usually do $10 for these if it's 2 layers. And then if it's the fancy ones, maybe you want to get in the ballpark of $12. But if I have a 4-layer one, these are $15. And obviously I do have some promos like at the show, like, hey, buy 3, the savings, right? Buy more, save more, and different deals. But these flew off the shelf last year. And so, I made... These were actually, I had a couple saved from last year. This one I stained. I stained the wood, so this is a cool option. So stained and painted. This year, I moved into MDF. So you can see the difference. Time-wise, way more time. This one, I paid more for materials, but way less time. Also, I did that masking I talked about, and so much different results compared to what I did last year. So let's pull one more just to kind of show the example. It's a cool look. Stained wood is really cool. It's a lot more, you can tell, but just some things to consider, how you're doing it. The other thing, if you're gonna do something like this, you have to remember to get the back. Gonna have to sand the back as well. On those so they don't get discolored, and so that's the cool thing with ones like these. Can have a cool color as it spins around on the tree, something to consider, or you could customize it, do engraving on the back. On the note of customization, if you're going to a craft show, you can bring a portable laser. So this is the F1 Ultra. Some folks don't think this is portable. I actually think this one is still plenty portable. It is a lot heavier. The F1 is at my school right now. It's about this big. It's so great. The F1, the original F1 from Xtool, 10-watt diode with a 2-watt fiber. It's so fast. You can bring the purifier, the new purifier. You could set up at your spot and engrave on site. You could charge $5 for custom engravings. You could have some other things. So there's some great money-making potential there, even if you're just getting started with that. So that one, this one obviously is bigger, but faster. I talk about the F1 and this at a craft show with that craft show tips video. You can check that out. Just some more ideas. All right, one more tip before we jump into software, free files and some design ideas is having some bags. So I know this doesn't seem like a big deal, but some of these ornaments are pretty intricate and you want them to be protected. But the idea of just taking something like this and having a little burlap sack, so each year when they pull it out, they pull out their ornament, they see your brand, you see your logo, maybe you slip a business card in there and you're gonna get repeat customers. How do you do this? Well, if you got a laser, you can make your own stamp. So years before I had a laser cutter, you know, you can find one of these online. I use this a lot, branding, did the logo, but you can just get some stamp material, laser cut, laser safe stamping material, make your own stamp, get a big ink pad, and then you just get these burlap bags. They're like 30 cents to 50 cents an ornament, but I think it's worth the cost, right? So they're all together. It's kind of just a little bit of marketing in there, keeps it nice, kind of sets you apart a bit. So that's a huge tip, both even if you're not doing a craft show, if you're selling elsewhere. But for ornaments, if you're looking to sell, I definitely recommend find a local craft show, elementary school, something like that, craft fair. Bags, big tip. Also on the idea of just, you know, a more polished look, you could use some jute twine for your string or ribbon or something like that. That's fine, but I really do think something like this is actually real leather. This is some really, really nice stuff. It's a little bit pricier, but I use these for years with my hardwood ornaments. This is some great stuff. I think they work really nicely. Let's show, there you go. So it's just nice little bit of leather. Or this year I am doing some suede, some fake synthetic. This is half the cost, comes with a lot of different colors. So I've been starting this year using that. Can't really tell too much. Actually, that's the old one. Of course you can't tell too much of a difference. That's the same one. Here we go. Here's the difference. This one is the fake. This is the real. So if you're all about real, go for it. But this one, it's still that cool look, you know, black, all those colors. I think that is the best of all the materials I've tried. I think that's the best look for ornament hooks. As far as instead of doing hooks, you can, let me pull out another example. There's also some cord like this, the thinner stuff. Obviously, it just depends on what ornament you're doing. So if you have a really small ornament, maybe some of the smaller twine. So I'll link these materials down below. The real leather, the suede, and the string twine, if I can find the link from when I got this years ago. Anyway, some ideas. Now for file ideas and software. All right, we're gonna jump into the software real quick. I'm gonna show some really, really helpful tips I found in XCS. You might be running Lightburn. If so, you can jump ahead a little bit to see those free files because they are awesome. But I do wanna talk about the software itself. So it's really simple, right? You can just go to the resource library. That's not the resource library. Here is the resource library. And let's say, oh, that's such a cute little lion. I really want the lion. So this might be a really basic tip, but some folks are new to lasers and don't know. So this is already on the blue layer. Let's say I want to make this orange for whatever reason. All right, that's going to be my engraving on the wood. Then I'm going to push outline and I can bump it out. You know, I want it a little bit bigger to have some contrast. I don't need that. And then I have this outline and I'm gonna make that black. And now, imagine this is my sheet of plywood and I have a really nice piece of plywood. This orange is gonna be my engraving, so I just click on the orange and then I can put my settings for engraving everything that's on the orange layer. And then I can click on black and everything that's on the black layer is my cut settings. Obviously, I do need to add in a little circle. So if you hold down the shift button, it makes it a perfect circle. So let's say I just want to bump that over. And then I'm going to hold down the shift button and click the outline at the same time. There we go. Now they're together. I like doing this feature right here, subtracted overlap. You could also do it a couple other ways. But now that's just one file. So this all is what I'm going to be cutting. So when the laser goes, it's going to engrave this in my plywood. and then it's going to cut out the black. So this kind of idea you can see right here. I believe I did a different color. I did black for my engrave, and then I had purple was my outline or my color, or blue, right? But that's the idea. So that's how you can do the wooden one. As far as the layered ornaments, well, usually they just come pre-packaged like that. You can make your own, but a lot of these, I just purchased a file and it already came as this one SVG, and maybe it just came like this, but let's say, oh, I need to also get, that's one layer, and it came as one layer, but I want to have a backer, I want to have the 2 layers. So then you can push the outline. If you want it exact same size, I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to say, let's say I want it exactly same. I'm going to go 0.0001. It's not exactly, but it's pretty much the same size. Yay. Okay. Did it even work or not because I'm filming? No, of course it didn't because it was too small. You get the idea. Do you? No, you don't. I just said that. So if I wanted it really small, 0.01. Confirm. I don't need an inner line. You're welcome. Doesn't it always take longer when you're filming? It does. All right, there we go. Obviously, I need to add the little circle in here. So now I have a backer. I could just add in the circle the same size, kind of line it up. That's how you could do it. Or I could do the outline and make it larger if I want contrast, like I did on several of my ornaments. So sure, I love it. And this piece is going to be one color, this piece is going to be another color, so I have contrast. All right, that's just some quick tips on the XCS. There's lots of other tips on here. Xtool does have, within Xtool itself, you just click that button, AI Make, and you can design your own stuff in here. You can design your own files, you can design your own PNG for an engraving, customize it, all kinds of cool things to explore in there. Let AI do the work for you. But aside from Etsy, my favorite source of files, it is free. You can start with 10 free files, then you can do a subscription. It's called Creative Fabrica. So you saw these ornaments, these exact ornaments. So this file right here, if I bought this on Etsy, this would be like $4, right? $4, probably since it's a 6-pack, probably this would be like $6. Well, for the cost of less than that file, you get a free month of unlimited downloads. So this is a subscription service. You can go to creativefabrica.com. And right, we get text, right? So different fonts, which is so awesome to have, all kinds of things. You can do PNGs for engraving. Obviously, we're here in Christmas. We're doing all these 3D. Check out all these files that you could download unlimited. Unlimited downloads. You get 10 free if you use my link down below to start, but then a subscription, for some, $4 a month, there's different tiers, but unlimited downloads for all of these cool things. So like right here, again, the cost of 2 things I would buy on Etsy, I'm getting everything I could need and more. The amazing thing that's really important to consider is a lot of the files you buy on Etsy do not have a commercial license. So you can't make things and then sell it technically, whereas everything on Creative Fabrica, it comes with a commercial license. There's just so much, my gosh, so many other great, mega bundle, right? All kinds of different things. But if you want that exact file that you saw me in the video do, this is the maker. You can just search their profile. You can follow the designer. You can see all kinds of other things they have, and you can find that exact one if you want to get that one. So great resource, Creative Fabrica. Check the link down below. At least get your 10 free downloads, but I do recommend. I use this all the time. So great resource for files. All right, a closer look here at all the possibilities. Some of those files you just saw in Creative Fabrica, but just some different variations and combinations. All the possibilities. All right, a couple last tips here at the end, a couple more. And there you have it. Lasers and ornaments. Super fun. If this video provided value for you, please consider subscribing to see more videos like this. Lots of other videos, project videos on lasers, using the machines, ideas with software, material types, just some inspiration for engraving and cutting, obviously, as well as some woodwork sprinkled in here and there. But there you have it, right? Lasers, really fun project. I do have some upcoming videos. Got here about 14 custom sets, Settlers of Catan and other games. Got some other really cool videos in the future that you can check out, as well as some old ones to feel free to check out. So, as to the lasers, and if you're in the market for expanding your lasers or getting your first laser, Obviously, I love Xtool. So I have worked exclusively with Xtool. Yes, that does mean I receive these machines in exchange for making content for them and doing some other things. But I truly do. I've had the chance to work with other companies, and I just love Xtool. They are so innovative. There's over 500 folks in their R&D department just coming out with new innovations all the time. All of their accessories, don't worry about that. It's just, you know, materials that just fell. Camera, hey, this is live, polished. All of the accessories work with all of the different machines. So if I have the rotary for tumblers, I can use it on all the different machines. Their software is really intuitive and easy. Lots of great features. And so some great promotions to get new lasers, like right now, huge sales. There's always some great sales going, but right now there's some great sales. They also have a promotion if you already have a laser and you want to upgrade. You can trade in your existing laser. Maybe it's an open bed and doesn't have the safety features. You can trade in for a credit towards one of their other units. Their S1, I love. It's the best beginner laser. Those run around 800 bucks for the 10 watt, just starting with all the safety features, with the lid, all of the really, really cool tech that's in that. Obviously, it scales up for the other ones. If you're curious, you can check out this video right here. I kind of compare all the different lasers, kind of pros and cons for all of them. I can check that out. But if you are curious, if you are interested in purchasing, please consider using this link. This is our affiliate link, or it's down below. A portion of each sale comes back to my family, helps support us, support the channel, so I can make more videos like this. That works on the materials and all that good stuff too. I will link as well other sources of materials. Xtool Selected really does have some really, some really cool stuff. All kinds of really cool things, but I will also link where I found some of the other materials that I used here. And so, anyway, some ideas. Feel free to use the comments to share some ideas of what you're looking for in the future, some more ideas for future videos, or something that you think, you know, would be great for folks to dig into. So anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you make some ornaments. Hope you have fun. And again, it is a great moneymaker, and it really does help, you know, pay for machines. And it's just fun. It's just fun to make. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take care.